All right, let's get started here because I know this kind of been disjointed here to say the least to start this thing, but we'll get going here because we don't have a ton of items to talk about to start with. First of all, at the last meeting, we asked Rob to go and do some exploration and do some checking out on some options as far as possibly getting some AC air conditioning at the Liberty Curtain and Bucktail buildings. And I think in the meantime, since we met several weeks ago, Rob has come up with some, I think, some pretty good options here. And he can explain what he found, what the plans are, and how we're going to possibly be able to move ahead with this, both from a structural standpoint and from a dollar standpoint. So you want to kind of fill us in, Rob?
Actually,
Yeah.
I'll start, Rob.
Okay.
Rob,
Okay.
Susan and I discussed this at length yesterday, and our position on this is, first of all, we need to have air conditioning solutions in both of those facilities. They're the only two facilities without air conditioning in light of the reopening of schools. We are going to require all staff to wear masks upon returning to school. Therefore, it's imperative that we do have good ventilation in those buildings. I don't know about you, but it's very difficult for a lot of people to wear a mask in general, but additionally, when it's hot or increased humidity, it makes it even more difficult. It's also not conducive to learning. So basically, I don't see any other options. I want to make sure that we have these two facilities air conditioned. At Liberty Curtain, we're looking at split units that would be installed in the walls. This would be a little bit more of a permanent solution for that building, but we know that we would be able to use it for the next several years until we decide if we are going to upgrade that building, if we're going to build a new building. It gets us through a couple years of air conditioning. Bucktail, we would not use the same solution because at Bucktail, we know that we're getting air conditioning the following summer. And so whatever we have to do is we only need it for 1 year. And so we're looking at two different air conditioning solutions. And as Rob's been pricing things out, we've looked at freestanding units that still have to be vented to the windows as well as window units. So, and another one would be a combination of doing some temporary wiring of one of the units that we took off of the middle school to maybe set that outside the cafeteria and cool that larger area with that chiller in a temporary model. So that would get us into school, get us opened. The downfall of the window units at Bucktail is the less than sightly view of window units hanging out windows. The small part of the window is actually too small to put an air conditioner in there. So we'd have to do is actually replace the larger part of the window, replace it with plywood minus the area where the air conditioner is sticking out. So it's not going to be very pleasant looking on the outside. So for that reason, I've asked Rob not to put any window units on the front of the building, but to use other solutions for those front rooms, such as the freestanding and then smaller vented areas, and then the window units on the rest of the building.
Okay.
Most of the funding that we would use to cover this it's an expensive option, but the majority of the funds would be covered through our safe, or is it the CARES or the Safe Schools? I forget which one, guys. Safe Schools, I think.
Safe Schools.
Yep, Safe Schools. However, one of the issues that we're coming up against is the units themselves are not that expensive, but what the cost is in the installation. And the installation cost is absolutely absurd. So Rob has some other ideas that we want to do with getting that put in, maybe as more of a contracted thing as opposed to including the installation with the purchase of the units, because they really get you on the installation costs. But we're looking at some other, the labor is the hard part. So the cost is likely to exceed the grant somewhat. And my recommendation is that any money that's not covered by the grant, that we should utilize capital funds, capital project funds to fund the remaining balance.
Okay. Do you have any ballpark figures on what we're looking at dollar-wise with this? How much of that grant money we have to use towards that?
We have about 113,000 of grant money to use towards these projects, and they should come in around there unless we run into problems with the installation, because we do not have the capacity to send our own carpenters and stuff up to install those units at Liberty Curtin. We just don't have the capacity to do it. We're working at reduced staff right now due to COVID issues and people's health. So it's even difficult for us to get some regular projects done right now. So the installation cost is going to be the increase. And it would be my recommendation that we use the grant money for all of the bucktail issues, and any money that of the Liberty Curtin that can be continued to, the rest of the grant, eat that up. But then any overage from the Liberty Curtin project would come out of the capital project, because that would be, again, something, the air conditioning for the next couple of years. If we want to look at what's fair is fair, equitable across the district, then we will be using capital money to air condition those classrooms as well.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers in front of me because everything shut down, but there was, Jackie, an update to the grant availability this morning. So there is an additional, some additional funds from the grant to put towards Liberty Curtin, but the theory would remain the same.
And if we did have to do that, use some of the capital project money, we would just have to come back and tell you, hey, we need 20,000 out of there, which means we're going to have to, adjust with a different project. I'm not super worried about it. I think that Rob's done a nice job getting some preliminary pricing, but I know that he also is conservative when he does that. So we probably have some wiggle room in there, which we knew we needed for as things would come up that we didn't anticipate.
Well, I think personally, I think it sounds like a good plan, especially if we can use a lot of that, or pay for a good bit of it from that grant money. And we have to take out of the capital money, we'll just have to do it. Because you're right. I mean, given the situation here, as weird as it'll be at the beginning of this year, with masks and everything, I just think that the buildings need to be air conditioned, all of them. I think that should be a priority, personally. So it sounds like you at least have a pretty good plan as far as how you want to move ahead with it. Especially in a bucktail, it will be a 1-year fix. So.
Rob, do you have anything else to add? I tried to cover the big picture.
No, I think you pretty much hit everything on there. I think the one thing with it is the dollar amounts. I think we saved some money on one side. I think the dollar amount from that 113 you shared, I think we have 171. Is that what Susan had said? Because we saved some money on some other things. So we're working through those dollar amounts to try and get an option that fits within the budgets that we have and still provides the level of protection that everybody needs.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the air conditioning? I think we should, committee, unfortunately, I don't know if there's any other committee members on here. I don't think so. I don't think Elizabeth got on here yet, or Polly. Tracy's
Roger's on, but he's not on the committee officially.
Tracy's out of town, so. But I think probably we should make that recommendation that we discuss that at the work session, that we should move ahead with this.
Would this be a good time, Jeff, to see if anybody had public comment on the?
Yeah. if we have, I don't know how many public people we have other than Roger, but Roger or anybody else from the public, if you'd like to weigh in on this, it's certainly a good time to do so.
I'm just keeping my mouth shut, but I back what Jackie and Rob are thinking. So
Yeah, that's what I really wanted to know, Roger. If you, I mean, it seems, I don't want people to think we're unnecessarily spending money at Liberty Curtain. I think that it's worth spending it there. And, you know, we wouldn't have to spend this money at Bucktail if we weren't in COVID, but if we weren't in COVID, we wouldn't be getting the grant money anyway.
Right.
So it's kind of a wash.
right. So
No, I don't know.
That's what the grant money's for.
Right. It's for that kind of thing. So I think it's going to be money well spent personally. And I would hope that the other committee members would agree. Anybody else in the public want to, if there is anybody, I can't really see, but
It is going to look bad because you're going to see windows with plywood in it and an air conditioner, but the windows are coming out the following summer. So we're not destroying windows. We're destroying windows a little early, and it's not going to look the greatest, but the air quality is going to be better.
well, and I think that we need to make that pretty clear to the folks at Bucktail, you know, that if they can tolerate a year of building some things that aren't going to look real great, you know, they temporary inconvenience for permanent fix. So I think that's exactly what we have in that situation. And, you know, if they can, you know, put up with that for a year.
So let me make sure I understand it correctly. What you're looking at is putting in the air conditioning units up there. Okay.
Right.
You're going to end up putting plywood in there so that way you can do the direct vent out. Okay. Now that's only for the time being that
Right.
For one school year.
Until next summer.
Yeah,
Right.
basically,
But
that's
what I'm wondering is, okay, we're only doing this for like the summer months, correct?
correct.
It'll go in August. The
It'll be there.
windows will come out, the plywood and the air conditioner will go in. It'll stay there throughout the whole school year. So it'll cool the classrooms in the late summer, early fall, and in the spring, you know, early summer next year, you know, in like May, and when it gets, you know, humid or whatever, we could turn them on then as well. But
Right.
then they're going to come out. But we talked about purchasing the air conditioning units. So then a combination of air conditioning units, window units, and freestanding. And then following this intervention year of air quality, if we had another facility that went down, let's say the air handlers or whatever went down for some reason, we'd have these freestanding units as well as window units that we could utilize in temporary, or we could decide to sell them in surplus.
Right.
I don't know if we can sell them actually, Susan, since they're bought with grant money.
Right. We may have to use them for contingency reasons.
Okay, but over the winter months then, okay, we're going to be losing a lot of heat through that area, correct?
I asked the same question.
Hmm.
Rob, go ahead and give your R value.
Well, my thought on it is, Roger, yes, there is some, we're going to lose some there. We'll cover the air conditioning units. We'll probably be using 3/4 inch plywood or 5/8 or something. We're going to have a higher R value in the plywood than we do in the single pane glass. So it's going to be kind of a wash. Can I say with certainty that it's going to be great? No, but I think we'll seal it up as well as we can, and we'll deal with those issues. It's a temporary thing that we have to make it through till next June, and we'll do everything we can to do our best with that and not have huge gaps or anything like that where we're losing a lot of energy. It's not ideal, but it's what we need to do to get us through till the spring.
It is what it is.
Right, and like I say, there's not a lot of difference in R value between a piece of plywood and a piece of 1/4 inch glass. So, I'm sure there's somebody out there to want to argue that point and call us out on that or whatever. But at this point, I think that it's the best option we have with the monies that we want to put forth for that. Unless we can get Alyssa, she's on the line there. I see. Maybe she can just add another project in and get this whole Bucktail thing done this summer. But I think somebody would probably kill her and I if we even suggest that.
Well, I don't know that there's any better solution to it. I mean, if in order to get air conditioning into that building on a temporary basis, I don't know that there's any other more economical options for a one-year fix. Yeah, I know I echo Roger's thoughts about, what we're going to lose heat-wise possibly, but if you guys seal it up well, I can't believe that we're going to lose a whole lot. So
Yeah, and we're going to look at that. If we have an issue with one that there's a problem or something, we'll take that unit out and put it back in. But I think that the labor to remove this stuff and put it back in the spring would eat up any energy savings we're going to save by taking them out, kind of thing. So there's kind of a wash in some of that. So I'll continue to make sure that we're doing the best we can with that. And we just got to get to that June time frame so we can get McClure back up there to get those new units and everything in.
okay. Anything else on the air conditioning unit or issue rather? I think pretty good handle on what we want to do with that, what we want to recommend, and we'll see what the rest of the board feels about it. I see Elizabeth just got in.
Well, Mike Hall is on vacation right now, but I did send him an email that when he got back to circle up with me so that we can get a communication prepared for his staff and the families at Bucktail to communicate to them about the air conditioning solutions. I think if they're not aware of it, that they're going to have an air conditioned building, that it may impact some of their decisions for coming back to school in the fall. So I want to make sure that we get that information to them as soon as possible.
Definitely, that needs to get out to the Bucktail people. So,
Thank
I
you,
see.
Bob, for your work on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think I saw Elizabeth just joined. She
Yeah.
here?
Finally, yes, PPL came through for us. Thank you. I'm here.
Elizabeth, just a quick recap. We've decided to use the grant money that we have to ensure that we're getting some units, window units at Bucktail because they're temporary for 1 year. We're going to also use we're going to reuse one of the chillers that came off the middle school roof to chill down like the cafeteria area at the Bucktail High School. Because the window units can't fit in the small window, we're going to have to replace the large window with a piece of plywood and the air conditioner for each room. It's not going to be very sightly, but again, it's a temporary solution for 1 school year. The
That's great.
windows on the front of the building, I don't want the plywood up there. So we're going to be seeking some freestanding units that have a smaller vent that goes out the little window because I don't want plywood across the front of the school for a year. So at any rate, we have a solution. We'll use the grant money for that. We're also going to use some of the grant money for some of the split units up at Liberty Curtin. Those will be more permanent solutions. And the total cost for that was only $40,000 for the units, I believe, in that neighborhood. The thing that's the unknown for us is the labor. If we buy them with installation, it gets significantly more expensive, but Rob has some other solutions for keeping the labor down. But not putting it on our own internal crews because we don't have the capacity.
Right. Just a quick question. Does this mean I don't know, was that grant already earmarked for the two, the psychologist and the sociologist, or is this different grant money?
Two different grants.
I'm sorry, what?
I believe they're 2 different grants. This is some
Okay.
safety money, but I could be wrong. Susan, do you remember which grant?
Nope, you're right. You're right. The other positions were through ESSER and this
Right.
one's through PCCD. We got all kinds of letters going around.
Thank you. This is great news. Thank you.
the only thing is, we did mention there could be an overage when the labor costs come in. If the labor to put in the units at Liberty Curtin exceeds what we were, what the grant covers with the Bucktail and that program, we may need to dip into the capital project money and then, you know, adjust later. It's imperative that we have air conditioning in both of those facilities as well, with the fact that we're going to require staff and recommend students wear masks when they return to school.
That's great news. Thank you so much. I'm just going to close these curtains. I'm not leaving.
Sorry, sorry, Roger, or Jeff, I just want to make sure Elizabeth knew what was going on before we got to the big meeting.
Right. I was going to give her a recap anyway, so you saved me from doing it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions anybody has on the air conditioning issue before we move on? I think it's a pretty good plan and pretty well financed, so we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is the Dickey School. We talked about getting appraisals on the building at the last meeting, and we asked that Susan, or I guess Susan was going to check into, you know, some costs for that. And I think she got some information, and we have to have 2 appraisals. We'd like to get that moving here as soon as possible so we can keep moving on getting that building taken care of. So
Susan's taken steps in that direction. Susan, do you want to add any additional information to that?
No, both, we've used 2 organizations in the past. Both have agreed to do it again for us, and their contracts have been added to the July work session. They said that they could have everything back to us for August if needed.
okay.
So it's just important for this group to know that we're continuing to move forward with the steps that we promised the city and the rest of the board that we would take with regards to the Dickey Elementary School.
And David, the only other comment is David Lindsay is working with the city since the resolution was passed to transfer the property. So that's underway as well.
And I think the only other item we talked about, just to kind of close that item, bring it to some closure, was the memorial tree. I know last time Jackie said you talked to the student's mother about that, and I think
She's
Rob-
very pleased with the fact that we reached out to her. She and her daughter discussed it. They believe the Tiger Den is the best place to move the memorial. Rather than digging up that tree and transplanting it, apparently the tree's been replaced a couple times because for some reason it doesn't seem to like to grow right there. What we're doing is Patty's reached out to Greg Wilson at the city. We're going to connect up their city workers with our crew. We're going to purchase a tree from the school district. We're going to purchase a new tree and take care of moving the stone down to the Tiger Den. When we have all those details set up and ready to go, the family, the mother wished to be present and maybe do some kind of a rededication, and she just wanted to be present when we put the stone in the new tree there. So we're working with the family, keeping them in the loop, and that's where we stand on that. I suspect it'll be done sometime in August.
Thank you.
all right. I don't think there's anything else related to Dickey. I know we would like to move ahead and maybe do something in the fall with that building in the way of an auction or something. That's why we need to get these appraisals done. So
Elizabeth wants something.
Thank you very much, Roger. Just real quick, due to time constraints and everything, but just out of curiosity, is there anything in the, Rob, is there anything that you found in the building that could be used in the concession stands as far as any equipment or sinks, or you just decided that we're just going to leave as is? And any updates on that?
We did go through the concession stands with our food service director, or not concession stands, but the kitchen down there. We've marked some stuff that's going to go out to some of these stands. And we've also, we've been through the building and marked other stuff that's going to be used in other places within the district. So reason I have an auction scheduled in the October time, or not scheduled, but I'm looking for a time in the October time frame, is to give teachers a chance to get in September, and they always come up with needs. Anything we can pull from that building, we'll pull to the building and get out to the teachers, and then anything that's left will go to auction. But between Susan, myself, Jackie, Rhonda, a whole bunch of us, Sharon Berger, we really went through, and we're trying to utilize anything we can there to the best of the ability, I guess. You know, some things just don't make any sense to move, others do.
Mhm.
So we are looking at that.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay.
Okay. Anything else related to Dickey? I think we're moving along on that pretty well. Anything, members of the public?
Yeah, Jeff. Is there gonna be, are we gonna have a tour of Dickey before we get completely rid of it? I know
Well,
somebody that really would like to go through it one last time.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
we already made a promise that we would do that. We will,
Thank you, Susan.
you know, I don't know who that person might be. Do you, Roger?
Roger, my
Well,
thought is
Can't see him right now.
My
Well-
thought, Roger, as we get some of the construction projects done, we're going to get you a tour of the middle school, the high school, and I think Dickey is still left on there, possibly Mill Hall. But we'll get through all those 1 or 2 evenings again. But didn't make much sense to continue to go through these in the summer. Some people can't be there because of other things, and they're really torn up right now. It's not a good way to show them or see them.
I was thinking that we could get those rescheduled here, probably the latter part of the summer, maybe sometime right before the school year starts or something in that neighborhood, to look at those remaining buildings that we didn't get to.
Well, I really wasn't worried about the other buildings. It's just the one building,
Well, we can make sure that you get
my
there.
building.
Your alma mater. Okay.
Amen.
All right, unless anybody has anything else, anybody, if not, we'll move on to the third item here on the agenda, and that's some preliminary discussions some informal discussions, I should say, have taken place between the district and the Woodward Township supervisors about that piece of land in the back of our property, the Woodward School property. I think they may have some interest in that. And so I don't know whether Jackie or Rob want to
Yeah.
fill us in on that.
Rob and I went over to the Woodward, we were invited to the Woodward Township, their meeting. It was actually their official meeting. And they broke and went into executive session with their solicitor and had us join them to have the conversation, as it would be a legal matter in general. So what we decided out of that discussion was to come back and share with this facility committee, or to see if you were interested in us pursuing more discussion with Woodward Township about details. So in general, we're talking about a strip of land that's roughly 1 acre in size, and 100 by 300 feet, I think is what they measured out. And it's the piece of the Woodward Elementary School property that directly borders where the township building sits. Their desire to come to us to try to acquire this extra acre of land has to do with how tightly they're situated back there. They'd like to be able to have their township trucks come in there and kind of drive a loop around the back of the building instead of navigating tight turns back in there. Their first line of thinking was that, could we come to some kind of agreement? How much would we want for the property? Could we look at maybe a trade of service where they helped us secure, maybe purchase this fencing, or they put up some fencing in return for the piece of property? They would be looking to excavate that part, pull that land out of there. If we took the fill, we could put the fill in another part of the district, or that property that could use the fill. The idea is, I think we could enter into further discussion with no commitment to do anything, to get a little more detail for the board. And also, we're going to need to involve our solicitor in the conversation as well, because we'd be looking at transferring an acre of land that currently is owned by all of the taxpayers as district property to only one municipality. These type of actions have been done in the past, but the goal would be to get into discussion enough to say what could benefit both groups mutually at minimal cost to the taxpayers. It seems to me that they could gain some better flow for their operations, and what we could get out of it is it's a piece of property we're not currently utilizing, but it's really not secure. There's a fence out there that goes around part of the property, but it's really not secured. So could we, by giving up the property, increase security on the playground and be a good neighbor at the same time? If this committee desires us to follow through and get some more details and work with the solicitor on it, we can pursue that. If this committee wishes us not to, we'll go with your direction.
Well, personally, I think it's certainly something that's worth pursuing. I think it has some merit for both entities. I think both could benefit from it. Like you say, these things, kind of things have been done in the past as far as transfer and so on. I personally think you should move ahead and come up with maybe a solid proposal to bring back and see what they have in mind, something that both groups could live with.
I just remembered one of the other potential benefits would be additional parking for special events or things like that, where we'd work out a arrangement with them for some additional parking back there.
I'd say, from my standpoint, as one member of the committee, I would say, I would say go ahead and pursue it and see what you can come up with in the way of a plan for it.
Jeff? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can ask you if you had how you felt on that.
Thank you, Jeff. Me personally, I mean, as of right now, unless administration says, look, we need this piece of land 5, 10 years from now or 50 years from now. The first time this was brought up, the first time I heard about this was maybe 3 years ago. So far, I haven't heard that this is a critical piece of property for the district. And unless that changes, I've always been very, very supportive of allowing it to go back into private use. My only I got, well, 2 concerns. One, legally, and Jackie, you really touched on this, is that, I mean, we all know this. We just want to be real careful that we don't have this other group say, well, you've been having these private discussions with Woodward Township. I wanted to buy it. I never got a chance. You know the spiel. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about is that component. And I will say this, even though supervisors and secretaries have changed over the years, I've had a working relationship with Woodward Township now since 2004, and they've always been incredibly great to work with. So if the district and administration has these levels that they'd want to put into the transfer, if it does go through, I feel that they would be a great partner for the district. But again, my only concern is, Joe Smith over here feels like he was jilted. He didn't get a chance to get it. So that's my only concern.
Well, and it wouldn't go to private use because Woodward Township's a municipality. So it would be really a transfer. And I think that we also need to be cognizant that, again, we're taking a piece of property that truly belongs to all the taxpayers, and it will be transferred to a small number of taxpayers. So somewhere in there, we cannot just, oh, sure, go ahead and we need to make sure if Woodward Township desires to have that property, then they should be paying fair value or trading something of fair value. the
Absolutely.
transaction.
Absolutely.
And that-
Thank you.
And I think that needs to be worked into whatever proposal comes out. If there's, it has to be something that is, of equal value. I just don't think that, we're going to just hand it over there. And so that would have to be part of the agreement, something that, would make sense. So,
Well, it sounds like what we'll do then is Rob and I will continue to work with Susan and our solicitor. We'll get back in touch with the Woodward Township folks and see what type of details we can hammer out. Everything to this point has been just completely hypothetical ideas. Nobody has gotten pricing on what would the fencing cost. Nobody has looked at excavating costs. No details have been discussed to that degree. So again, I wish to pursue the discussion without commitment.
yeah, I would just say, if I'm leaving up to your discretion as far as what you think is going to be something that is a fair proposal to bring back to the committee and then ultimately to the board if we decide to take it that way, which I'm sure you'll do. So I would say go ahead and see what you can come up with.
All right, great.
All right. As far as the agenda goes, I think that's the final agenda item anyway. I don't think we have anything else unless anybody from the public has any comment or whatever. Or there's another issue that anyone on the committee wants to bring up. If not,
Jeff, can I jump in?
yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. First, I don't know if Rob was allowed to do this, but I want to thank Rob and let everyone know I was super excited to see that new, I'm going to call it a cement refinisher. That might be the wrong word. It is really freaking awesome. They pulled up the asphalt tiles and I saw the before, during, and after, and talk about a game changer. Thank you, Rob. This is huge. I was really super excited about this. And my last one is, I know, Rob, you've been working on this, and this is not, I'm just curious, when we go back to Woodward Township, the Woodward School, is there any chance that dilapidated trailer back there can be finally taken out? Any chance before school starts?
I don't know that it'll happen before school starts. It was a discussion item that I had with Jackie and Susan at the last meeting that they had with me. They still have some stored material in that trailer. I need to work with the Rolanda to get it emptied out. And then I think what we're going to try and do is we'll probably put it out to bid. Believe it or not, somebody will probably buy that. That's what happened with the last couple. And then they'll remove them at no cost. It's on the radar, and it was kind of pushed back because we have to figure out what we're going to do with all the material in it. And I really don't have time to get down there and deal with that part of it right now. But it's on my list, and I did bring that up with them at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The only other comment I had was I did have a chance as I went up today. I finally got a chance to go up and take a look at the progress on the new turf, and they're making some good progress on that. It looks really good from what I could see of it. They were doing a lot of work, so I really couldn't get a good close look, but what I could see of it looks pretty sharp, and I think when it's all said and done, it's really going to be a nice facility, and I just think they're doing a nice job, and hopefully they'll be done with it here fairly soon in the next week or two, and we'll have it all ready to go. So I think that project and the others seem to be moving right along. So with that, I don't have anything else to add about any other projects. As far as a future meeting date, I think instead of setting one at this point, I think what we're going to do is try to set meeting dates for the rest of the year. From what I've understood, sit down and set up committee meeting dates. And I don't really see anything real pressing left right now for us for the near future. So we'll set another meeting date here, and I will communicate with the other committee members. And but at this point, I'm not sure when that will be. It would probably within the next month or so. But we'll set that date up, I think, at the retreat. So
Yeah, and if I need anything in the meantime, I will reach out to yourself, Jeff, and then we'll get with the committee to come up with a meeting date or something that if we need that between now and then. I'm hoping not to take on too much more new stuff, try and finish up what we have going. Susan, this may be a question for you. You sent me the thing about the security vestibules in 2 of the buildings. I have some stuff in that masonry contractor. We may just include that on the board agenda. I think it's 2,500 and maybe 2,500 in one and 2,800 at the other for to help to build the masonry part of those vestibules. It's grant funded, but we'll still have to have board approval on that because it's an outside contractor. So we'll you may see that on the agenda, Jeff, but it's just working on the security vestibules with grant money.
okay, all right. Anything else anybody has before we adjourn here?
Rob, can I ask you a quick
Sure.
question?
Yep.
Am I allowed to do this? This is something I've wanted to do for years. And I'm more than happy to do it when the guys aren't working, like maybe a Saturday or a Sunday. Can I just take a couple of buckets of water over to the Central Mountain Middle School sign there on the corner and Dawn dishwashing liquid and just wash that sign? It's driving me insane.
Technically,
Oh,
we'll get in a lot of trouble about that with the union.
Okay, I figured okay.
We'll address it with our staff.
Okay, it's not a priority, but I'm more than happy to do it if I could.
It needs done. The only other thing I wanted to mention is tomorrow evening, there is a co-curricular committee meeting. And although it's, partial facilities, partially co-curricular, there is going to be some discussion at tomorrow night's meeting with regards to sponsorships for the turf. And so I know that involves Elizabeth and Roger, as well as Eric and Jeff. I just want to keep you in the loop that will be discussed tomorrow as well.
Okay, well, I might try to sit in on that myself.
That'd
So.
be great. That'd be great.
And then in that
Okay.
same meeting, and again, this is a little bit of a crossover, I want to talk about there is a policy for dedications of facilities or gym floors and so forth. And I've received an informal request of a dedication of one of our pieces of our facility. So just want to talk about that with the group tomorrow night, and it may circle back around to facilities. It's one of those things that kind of crosses over both committees.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I have a request from my neighbor. I haven't spoken with the Borough of Mill Hall council members. He asked me to find out if it's possible to get a stop. Who does he contact, or how does it start? He would like to see a stop sign put on Ben Avenue going towards the Central Mountain Middle School. And the stop sign would be right before the entrance, and that's Peel Avenue and Ben Avenue where they connect. So I don't know. I'm just sharing his
Wouldn't that be a PennDOT thing?
Well, this is a municipal, it's so strange. The municipal road, Mill Hall Borough owns Ben Avenue and they own Peel Avenue. But as soon as you cross over the center line, the school district owns the road. And as it travels beyond the tennis courts towards the back parking lot and where the recycle bins are, it's a weird configuration. So he wasn't sure, does he go talk to the borough first? Does he talk to the school district first? I'm just relaying his message.
Is there what would be the rationale for adding a stop sign?
Well, even though he's concerned because people speed through there, and it happens occasionally. I mean, I'm not going to lie about it, but stop signs by law can't be used to control traffic speed. So he's concerned that these speeding cars are a safety concern because so many people walk up and down Ben Avenue, down Kyler, down Peel. And he's got his kids there, obviously. So he's just concerned about that handful of people that just right
Yeah.
through.
Maybe a better solution would be to talk to the Mill Hall Borough and have the Mill Hall Police patrol that area. A few tickets may deter speed.
Okay, that's what I'll tell him. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I think I will entertain a motion to adjourn here unless anybody objects. So we will be in touch with the committee members as to when we get another meeting date set. But I think as of now, I think we're in good shape. So I thank everybody, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
See ya.